And welcome to the Noyes On podcast. I'm Greg Noyes. I'm a millennial.
Matt Noyes, an early Gen Z.
Welcome to what episode are we on? Episode 4 of the Noyes On Music podcast series. Today's episode is on the Queen of Soul herself, the lovely, the talented, the incomparable
Aretha Franklin.
All right, Matthew, why are we doing this?
To bring the old-timer music to the youngsters of today.
In this podcast series, Noyes on Music, we feature dozens of music legends from across genres and generations. We do like to stay in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s if we can. The sweet spot, the epicenter, lands right in the mid to late 60s. My daddy always told me that his music was the best music. Sometimes I thought otherwise. But we've come to the light. We realized that classic rock and roll was the renaissance of American music. It gave birth to so many other genres like funk and soul and metal and alternative and so much more. And Aretha, the Queen of Soul, clearly, obviously, is associated with soul music. She was gospel music before that, so she's the Queen of Gospel too. I don't know if that's already given to someone else like Billie Holiday or Mahalia Jackson. I don't know. If you're watching on YouTube, enjoy the slides and the visuals. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Music, or elsewhere, enjoy the sweet, sweet sounds that are coming your way. If you want to learn more about any of these artists, about American music genres, or if you're teaching a music class, a history class, or a music history class, there are plenty of links below to access slideshows, name that tune guessing games, or our entire catalog of music resources. Check it out below. So usually we save these kind of accolades till the end, but I gotta say just at the very beginning, when Rolling Stone magazine does their list of top musicians, top artists, top singers, Aretha Franklin, most recently they listed her as the 9th greatest artist in American music history. But when they did a separate list for the greatest vocalist or the greatest singer, they put Aretha at number 1. So that means she is literally the standard. She is the gold standard. She is perfection. Everything else, vocally speaking, is measured against Aretha. So with that being said, Matthew, can you think of any modern day singers that even compare? I know no one can compare to Aretha, but who's the closest sing-alike for Aretha Franklin?
I'd say it's maybe Ariana Grande, just because of her vocal range and just how much of a powerhouse they both are. But in reality, she doesn't come close to Aretha, you know. Aretha just has so much energy and never a faulty note, so I applaud her for that. They selected Ariana to perform Natural Woman at Aretha's funeral, so that was a great honor for her to do that.
Yeah, that says a lot. And having watched that clip of Ariana Grande singing that song, I mean, she was fantastic because her voice is amazing. But even hearing that, you can tell right away it's not Aretha. Like no one's Aretha. Her voice is just perfect. I was going to say Adele. I think Ariana Grande is probably a better one. Adele, to me, if anything, Adele sounds more like Etta James. You know, at last, my love has come along. That's more of Adele, right? But same category. I think yours is better. I like your sing-alike better. Where does Aretha Franklin rank for you for your all-time greatest artists?
I feel ashamed that I haven't listened to her as much as I should, but she should be like in my top 30, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel ashamed. I listen to other people more. I'd put her in my top 50. I could probably think of 50 other artists throughout music history that I go to or listen to more than Aretha Franklin. So that's fair. Top 30 for you, top 50 for me. Why should somebody today, some kid who's never heard of Aretha Franklin, yeah, she was a big soul singer in the late 60s and who cares? Why should anybody care today?
She's the standard for vocals. Like if you're aspiring to be any type of singer, she is the standard, as we said. You know, she brought so much to music. She's the all-time golden queen of soul.
Yeah, I think she matters too because she was so involved with politics and social movements. She even in after her prime was invited to sing at the inauguration of several presidents, Jimmy Carter, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama. I think George W. Bush presented her with a presidential medal during his presidency as well. She was a big deal. Let's get to 3 truths and a lie. Got 4 statements for you. Let's see if you can figure out which one is the lie. We'll reveal the answers at the end. First statement.
Aretha Franklin was born to a minister in Memphis, Tennessee.
Second statement, she is considered the most successful female vocalist in history. Third statement.
Aretha Franklin's most famous songs were remakes of songs of other artists.
And fourth statement, Aretha Franklin won 18 Grammys and had over 20 R&B #1 singles. Answers coming at the end. So we're looking at a timeline of American music for the last 100 years with all the different genres as they pop up, and Aretha plops right in the middle of the 60s. She was singing earlier than that. She was singing from a very young age in the 50s, singing gospel, but her transition to soul, late 60s, right? 67, she comes out with Natural Woman and Respect. And if you're looking at this timeline, that's right around the time when soul began. Soul's in the 50s, Aretha's in the 60s. So there were some soul singers that came before her. Sam Cooke, which we did our very first podcast on Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, and others were there before her. And she met a lot of those people too. Let's get to some quotes from Aretha, first of all. So we got several on the screen. We're just going to read a few. One that I really like that stands out to me says, Aretha says, "Being a singer is a natural gift. It means I'm using to the highest degree possible the gift that God gave me to use. And I'm happy with that."
Another one is, "We all require and want respect, man or woman, black or white. It's our basic human right."
A couple other short ones that she said that I wanted to quote her. She says, "I love all music," which is interesting since she's associated very specifically with gospel and soul. And it was said that even in her late age, before she passed away, she was really into modern music and wanted to know what the kids were listening to these days. And she said, "I love all music." Another quote, last one. She says, "I'm a big woman. I need big hair." And if you can picture Aretha, or if you're watching, we're going to have lots of pictures. Aretha, she had the hair. Some quotes about Aretha Franklin. These are very telling. Here's one from Joss Stone, a singer. Says, "People say I'm the white Aretha Franklin. I wish I was her."
From Jennifer Hudson, "My ultimate film role would be to play the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin." And guess what? She made the role. She kind of manifested that for herself.
Beth Ditto says, "Aretha Franklin was a teenage mom and musician who came from an incredibly Christian background, but there was a lot of love, which is really inspiring." And I love this one too by Peebo Bryson. Says, "There was a time in American history when almost every white person knew who Aretha Franklin was." And if you think historically, Aretha coming out in the late 60s with her breakout right around the time of the Civil Rights Movement, which culminated, I guess you could say, in 64, there was definitely a divide between black and white America, black and white singers. And Aretha was one of those singers that was not only a national star, but an international superstar. Everybody knew who Aretha was. All right, let's walk through her discography a little bit. We'll fast forward to 67. She had quite a career before 67, singing gospel and traveling with her dad, who was a very well-known preacher, and he would travel. He was a traveling preacher as well. She would be there to open for him and was doing that from a very young age. And then she breaks out in 67, joins a new record label, and crosses over to secular music. In a lot of conservative Christian circles at the time, thought that she maybe was selling out, maybe her relationship with God wasn't there anymore. Aretha never said anything like that. She was a Christian all the way through and sang gospel continuously after this as well. She had certain albums she released that were gospel albums, but also had these quote-unquote secular albums that were soul music. Respect can't get much bigger than that song. And what a lot of people don't know is Respect was not her song originally. It was not written by her. It was actually an Otis Redding song. And he said something like, when he heard Aretha's version of his song, he said, "Well, I guess that's not my song anymore," because he knew how amazing that song was as she recorded it.
All right, in 1967, we got "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman." And I was going to also mention that some people in an interview of her documentary were saying that she's very much well a recording artist and that she pours her heart and soul in when she's on the mic, you know.
Yeah, you got some artists that are known for their performance and some that are known for their recording. And she's a little of both, but definitely tops when it comes to recording. Somebody like Elvis, which we looked at in a previous podcast, he was both too, but he was definitely heavier on the performance. Aretha's heavier on the recording. So let's listen to Natural Woman. Now, both of those songs, Respect and Natural Woman, were larger than life because they became almost like the anthems for the women's rights movement, which followed closely after the civil rights movement. And she always would say that, that wasn't the point of her writing those songs necessarily, but she loved that it became almost like a mantra or an anthem for civil rights and for women's rights. All right, the next year, 1968, she comes out with "I Never Loved a Man." Let's give it a listen.
I love you.
In 1970, this is the time where she crossed over between gospel to soul, and this is I Say a Little Prayer for You.
Yeah, isn't that the perfect song to represent her as a gospel and soul singer, right? It's definitely a soul song, and it's definitely secular. She's singing love song, a song of devotion, but it has these hints of gospel in it. Just even in the title, I Say a Little Prayer for You, it seems like a theme that would be in a gospel song, but it's not. It's just a love song. Now we're going to fast forward a couple decades. Aretha, a lot like Prince, who we looked at previously, was epic when it came to releasing albums. She had something like 40 albums that she released in her career. So we're fast forwarding through quite a bit of it. It's not like she wasn't still making music in the 80s. But we're going to go to 1996. This is probably the song I remember most as a kid hearing on the radio. And this was a duet with George Michael called I Knew You Were Waiting. And Aretha was 50, 54 years old at the time. Still nailing it. Let's listen in.
Speaking of Adele, Aretha comes out with Rolling in the Deep cover by her in 2014. This is how it sounds.
The scars of your love remind me of us. It keeps me thinking we almost had it all. The scars of your love keeps me breathless. I can't help thinking we could have had it all. Rolling in the deep. You had my heart inside your hand, but you
I don't know about you, but Aretha seems like a little bit unique in that usually when you got a legend like Aretha, you got more often than not people covering her songs. And yeah, that happened a lot, of course. But Aretha also covered a lot of other people's songs. She has a ton of songs that she performed that were original to Sam Cooke. Obviously, Respect was by Otis Redding. And now here you got Aretha Franklin in 2014. She is 72 years old at the time. And she's covering a song by Adele, arguably the biggest pop star, R&B, whatever you want to call Adele, in 2014 with her hit song Rolling in the Deep. And Aretha covers that song. How awesome is that?
That goes to show how much she really loves music. And obviously she can perform any genre, you know, she's the legend.
Before we get to our top 10 Aretha Franklin songs, let's run through her bio a little bit.
Born in Memphis in 1942, Aretha Franklin grew up the daughter of a minister. At the age of 14, she released her first album, Songs of Faith, in 1956. But by the age of 18, Aretha signed with Columbia Records in 1960 and later signed with Atlantic Records in 1967, all part of her hugely successful career in secular music.
Now, we'll keep it G-rated here, but I got to point out, Aretha, she overcame a lot of stuff in her life, and you may not know it just hearing her music. She sounds so put together, but Aretha had 2 kids when she was middle school age, 12 and 14, and gave birth to 2 kids, which is crazy to think about. The identity of the father was not known for a long, long time, and allegedly some people found in her estate some notes explaining who the father was and all this stuff. So that's crazy that she's just a kid herself and she's raising these 2 little kids and still going on with her music career. She had really bad luck with guys. Her husband, she had multiple husbands, but Aretha's first husband, Ted White, there's all kinds of stories about him abusing her and hitting her, and he would get in fist fights with recording people and backup singers, and It sounded like he was just a mess. He wouldn't let her go out and do certain things. He wouldn't let her go do what she wanted in terms of her music. He very much controlled her career for a long time. When he finally let her do what she wanted to do, she became this megastar. Her smash hits such as Respect, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, and A Natural Woman gained her great commercial success. In fact, the late 1960s were so good to Aretha that she soon gained the nickname the Queen of Soul.
Franklin is arguably the most successful female vocalist in history. She has won 18 Grammys, 112 songs on the Billboard charts, 21 number one R&B singles, and has sold well over 75 million records worldwide.
Aretha was the first woman to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I didn't realize that. You'd think that there would have been somebody, but she's the first one. Not only is Aretha in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the UK Music Hall of Fame, and the GMA Gospel Music Hall of Fame, but as we said before, Rolling Stone magazine puts her number 9 greatest artist of all time, number 1 greatest vocalist of all time. She is the GOAT.
So in short, Aretha Franklin changed music history by setting the bar for female vocalists in terms of record sales, number 1 song, style, and vocal talent. Madonna, Adele, Whitney Houston, and every other female vocalist can thank Aretha for blazing trails.
So we want to take a quick deep dive into what we're calling the identity song. So Matthew and I try to figure out what song represents Aretha more than any other song. What is her identity song? And I feel like we could have picked a number of different songs for Aretha, but we went with Respect. If you break down the lyrics, and again, you got to think that this was written by a man, first of all, Otis Redding, but this is being performed by or captured by Aretha as a woman. A lot of it has to do with respect in their own home. It's almost like respect from your spouse, right? Like, for example, it says, all I'm asking is for a little respect when you get home. I ain't gonna do you wrong. I'm about to give you all my money. And all I'm asking in return, honey, is to give me my propers when you get home. And then she sings, your kiss is sweeter than honey, but guess what? So is my money. And yeah, she made the money. All I want you to do for me is give it to me when you get home, meaning the respect, right? Because she goes on with right? I'm not even gonna do it. So we could have picked for the identity song, I Say a Little Prayer for You. Could have picked Natural Woman. I think Natural Woman would be a great pick too. But we went with Respect. So those 4 statements from the beginning, 3 truths and a lie. Again, they were Aretha Franklin was born to a minister in Memphis, Tennessee. Matthew, is that true or false?
True.
Second statement, she's considered the most successful female vocalist in history. True or false?
True.
So out of these last 2, one is the lie. We got Aretha Franklin's most famous songs were remakes of the songs of other artists. True or false?
False.
And lastly, Aretha Franklin won 18 Grammys, had over 20 R&B number 1 singles.
True.
And there you have it. So as we've done all too often, our top 10 list ends up turning into a top 15 list or more in some cases because there's just too many good songs to go over. So we got an Aretha Franklin top 15 list, and I want you to make some predictions. What is going to be near the top of our list? And I got to remind you that, yes, this is subjective. Yes, this is based on opinion, but our list
Is superior.
Our list is superior. Our list is the right list. We gave it some thought. We thought about what songs from Aretha Franklin not only are popular, but have some meaning behind it, have some soul behind it, which is redundant because all her songs are soul. She is soul music. So starting us off at number 15, we have Freeway of Love.
Vision in white. How to get your pants so tight. Don't know what you're doing, but you must be living right. Yeah. Oh, we got some places to see. I got all my maps with me. So jump in. It ain't no sin. Take a ride in my machine. City traffic's moving way too slow. Drop the pedal and go. 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 We going riding on the freeway. Oh, love wins against our plans. We going riding on the freeway. Oh, love.
Number 14, we got I Never Loved a Man.
Some time ago I thought I love you.
Number 13, Bridge Over Troubled Water. If you recognize that song as a Simon and Garfunkel song, you were correct, but her version is super cool. It's way different. It doesn't even sound like the Simon and Garfunkel song at all. Check it out.
Don't trouble the water. Said I want to. Why don't you let it be? Still waters run deep. Yes, it do. Yes, it do. Oh, yeah. If you only believe when you're down, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you.
At number 12, we got Walk On By. Such a classic. Let's give it a listen.
Walk on by.
If you see me walking down the street and I start to cry each time we meet, walk on by. Walk on by. Just make believe that you don't see the tears. Just let me grieve in private, 'cause each time I see you, I break down and cry.
Number 11, Come Back to Me.
Come to me whenever you get lonely. Just reach out your hand, there I'll be. My love will light you up.
And for the top 10, we got Daydreaming.
He's the kind of guy that you give you everything and trust your heart, share all of your love till death do you part. I wanna be what he wants when he wants it and whenever he needs it. And when he's lonesome and feeling love starved, I'll be there to feed it. I'm loving him a little bit for each day. Turns me right on when I hear him say, hey baby, let's get away, let's go somewhere. Oh, baby, can we? Why, I don't care.
Number 9, Ain't No Way.
Ain't no way for me to love you. If you want, let me. It ain't no way for me to give you all you need.
Number 8 is Rocksteady.
Rock steady, baby, that's what I feel now. Let's call the song exactly what it is. Step and move your hips with a feeling from side to side. Sit yourself down in your car and take a ride. And while you're moving, rock steady, baby. Let's call this song exactly what it is. What it is, what it is, what it is. It's a funky and love I'm feeling. What it is. In the hips from left to right. What it is I might be doing. What it is. This funk and dance all night.
For number 7, this might be controversial that it's number 7, is Son of a Preacher Man, one of Aretha's best known songs.
Billy Ray was a preacher's son, and when his daddy would visit, he'd come along. When they gather around the parlor talking, that's when Billy would take me walking through the backyard, and we'd go walking, and he'd look into my eyes. Lord knows to my surprise, the only one who could ever reach me was the son of a preacher man. The only boy who could ever teach me
For number 6, we got Chain of Fools.
Chain, chain, chain. Dang, if Son of a Preacher Man and Chain of Fools are 7 and 6, I can't wait to see what's in the top 5. Let's get to it. Number 5. I knew you were waiting.
For number 4, we got Think.
Think about what you're trying to do to me. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Let's go way on, way back when. I didn't even know you couldn't have been too much more than 10. I ain't no psychiatrist, I ain't no doctor with degrees. But it don't take too much time to see what you're doing to me. You better think about what you're trying to do to me, yeah. Think, let your mind go, let yourself be free. Oh, freedom,
At number 3, I Say a Little Prayer.
Before I put on my makeup, I say a little prayer for you. And while combing my hair now, and wondering what dress to wear now, I say a little prayer for you. Forever, you stay in my heart, and I will love you forever. Never would want how I love it together. That's how it must be to live without you. Would only be heartbreak for me.
At number 2, A Natural Woman.
Looking out on the morning rain, I used to feel so uninspired. And when I knew I had to face another day, Lord, it made me feel so tired. Before the day I met you, life was so unkind, and you're the key to my peace of mind. 'Cause you make me feel, you make me feel, you make me feel like a natural woman.
Now, the number 1 Aretha Franklin song
When my soul
is going to be
was in
the non-surprise of the century, because you can see clearly that the only song missing from this list is RESPECT, Respect.
What you want, baby, I got it. What you need, do you know I got it? All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, mister, just a little bit. I ain't gonna do you wrong while you gone. I ain't gonna do you wrong, 'cause I don't wanna. All I'm asking is for a little respect when you just a little bit, baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, just a little bit. I'm out to give you all my money, and all I'm asking in return, honey, is to give me my promise when you get home. Just a little bit, just a little bit.
Now, before we go, we have 3 special awards. The Dark Horse Award goes to the song that is lesser known or underrated, that we placed higher on our list, or on our list at all, that some people may have not even heard of. Then we got the Hate It or Love It award. That's clearly a song that some people really love. Some people think it's super annoying. And then the Most Played Song award, and that is based on Spotify plays. Let's start with that one. Top played song on Spotify. Matthew, what's your guess?
I'd say Respect.
And you'd say correct. It is Respect, and that barely beat out I Say a Little Prayer.
It was about 7 million plays difference.
Hate It or Love It award goes to Son of a Preacher Man. Now, I'm not saying we hate it. It is one of her greatest songs. Just not my personal favorite. That's why we pushed it down to number 7. And in the Dark Horse Award, we got a couple songs on here that maybe you've heard of it. If you're a casual Aretha fan, maybe you haven't. But number 12, Walk On By, and number 10, Daydreaming, we had on our list pretty high. Thank you again for listening. We hope you enjoyed the visuals if you were watching, enjoyed the music if you're listening. As always, if you want to learn more about any of these artists, about American music genres, or if you're teaching a music class, a history class, or a music history class, there are plenty of links below to access slideshows, Name That Tune guessing games, and our entire catalog of music resources. Again, Matthew, tell them why are we doing this?
To teach the youth about the Queen of Soul, obviously.
Tune in next time for Noise on Music podcast number 5. We're out.